Alaikum and welcome back to Women's AM. This morning we are joined by Sister Nusrat, Sister Mahbooba and our special guest Sister Hudan Yusuf to continue our discussion on Islam and love. We are a live show, so please do call to the studio to put your questions and comments across to the panel. The number is on your screens right now, or you can tweet us at Islam Channel #WAM15. So, sisters, exciting discussion, and we're all looking for Mr. Right. So I would say our prime person to go to is Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. What sort of a husband was he? I'm intrigued to know. Sister Mahbooba.
Since we're on the topic of romance and love, I want to focus on this because I think that's something very, it's quite nice to look at. And, you know, the Prophet ﷺ, he was known to be the most romantic individual that's ever walked on earth. And you can see this through, that's manifested through his relationship with his wives. You know, how he was kind, he was really, you know, he took on their complaints and, you know, he wiped the tears, like he comforted them. Like, for example, when he embarked on a journey with Safiya, radiallahu anha, you know, she arrived late and she was crying, and the Prophet ﷺ, approached her and wiped her tears. Aww. You know, that's the kind of like, you know, it kind of humanized the Prophet ﷺ, that he, like, what kind of husband he was. And, you know, subhanAllah, this is the kind of relationship that, you know, the kind of husband that the Prophet ﷺ, the kind of role model that he told people in his society to become, because we were living in a society in pre-Islamic era where women weren't dignified, where women were treated as less than animals. And so through his examples we can see that he was, you know, the best example.
So he was sensitive where he needed to be. I think there was a hadith where Prophet ﷺ used to race Aisha radiallahu anha.
Yes.
So it was quite playful, the relationship. It wasn't one way or the other. It was quite sweet. So Nusrat, what's your take on it?
I think as well, when we look at the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the way he used to deal with his wives, we found that he was very eager to guide them towards matters of religion and help them improve. So the fact that in that trait of his character, he's always one of not only self-improvement but exalting his wives to be better in terms of the actual actions of faith and even spiritually. We find that he used to strive to diligently increase their knowledge and acquisition of that. An example of this can be seen with the Prophet's wife, Juwayriya, and the Prophet ﷺ. It's narrated that the Prophet came to me when I was performing my morning supplication, after which he went off to his own affairs. He returned by midday, and upon finding me in the same state, he asked me, "Should I not teach you some words which, if you recited them, would outweigh and would be worthier than all of what have been recited since the meaning? They are, glory be to Allah and praises due to Him, according to the number of creations, according to the pleasure of His self, according to the weight of His throne, and according to the ink used in recording, the words for His praise." And that's narrated in Sahih Muslim. It's hadith number 6864. So from this we actually see that the Prophet always wanted the best for his wives. And looking at it from a contemporary setting, sometimes we find that within marriages, particularly portrayed in Western films, you always see this one-upmanship game of people, of the man either trying to get one over on the woman or the woman trying to get one over on the man. You should want the best for both of each other, so that you can help improve each other, and through being that way you can actually excel. We find that he also regularly consulted his wives on matters, and this was actually something at the time of the Prophet that was seen as quite a radical shift, considering the pre-Islamic Arabian sensitivities. Women were not consulted, they were held in an inferior position. We see within the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, the conditions laid for that were not something that the Muslims at that time liked very much, and even the companions hoped that he would change the conditions. The Prophet ﷺ consulted Salama, and Salama gave her advice, even though she knew that her advice wasn't needed, but the fact that the Prophet ﷺ asked her shows how he valued her. In terms of,
Masha, we'll have to come back to that. We've got another brother on the call, he's got a comment to make. Assalamu brother, what's your comment?
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, I'm just looking at just now, it's my second time I'm just looking, but this is a very nice topic today. And second thing, I just want to add something you just asked to the sister about the romance of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I just want to acknowledge the people. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was the best romantic man on the earth with his wife. And I have one of the example of the Sahih Bukhari Sharif from that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam feed the Hazrat Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha by his own hand, and he always do this kind of things and practice with her. So this is a thing which man should do with the wife. And second thing, and same time, women also do the same thing towards the man, means her husband. But the problem is that women are more demanding than rather than the the men. But it's make more complex with the religion and lifestyle. So I just want to suggest that would you please suggest to the man and woman, both of them, that it is a compromising relation. You should respect each other and listen to each other on. And the second thing, which is I found a very big problem, that woman says I am just only for you, but I think that woman has to care about the man's parents as well and then relatives, because it is a joint venture between the two families as well, not only between the man and woman. So if you please highlighted these kind of things, because love is not only between the man and woman, love is means to all of them, relatives and relations.
Jazakallah for your comments, brother. That's very, very sweet and very interesting. I think when we love people, they test us the most, so our families are there to test us. Sister Hudden, have you got any comments to respond back to the brother?
Yeah, I think the example the brother gave about Aisha and Muhammad ﷺ eating, and she, radiallahu anha, would talk about how she would eat a piece of food, and Muhammad ﷺ would eat from the exact same place she'd put her lips, sweet. And it's very intimate, and drink from the cup, and he placed his lips exactly where hers had been, and that's lovely. So these things are really important. I think talking about extended families is another topic altogether, to be honest with you. I think the focus today is on the personal relationship between the couples, but it's very important that if there is a loving relationship between the husband and wife, and there should be, and it should be mutual, like I said before to the previous caller, that it should be a mutual relationship, that the husband and the wife should want to please each other for the sake of making each other happy. I think then, in that sense, then a wife would exert her best efforts to please her husband, and the husband will do the same to please his wife, and that includes being civil and nice and caring and generous to their extended family and their friends. Muhammad ﷺ was kind to Khadija's friends and relatives even long after she died. So this relationship of, we have this kind of in-laws, and the in-laws are the people who gave birth and raised your husband. The man you love, they're his family. And the same with the husband. If you love your wife, don't expect to burden her with things that she cannot do, so that everyone does the best that they can in a loving environment, rather than feeling resentful and burdened by each other's requests or becoming demands. It would be nicer if we requested and then appreciated that they did the best they could.
Of course, in building relationships, our families, we've been brought up with them. When you're finding a new family, it takes time and it takes effort on both parties. Inshallah. So how important is love in a marriage? I know you say we need to show affection and love for, love to blossom. So how important is love in marriage?
Very.
It's so important, because if there's no love in marriage, then it's heading towards a destruction. And, because subhanAllah, Islam, it places marriage as the foundation of society, and it's the most important role in society. And but for love to exist within relationship, there has to be mutual trust, there has to be mutual respect, in terms of and also the relationship between husband and wife, it has to be connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a evidence there's a hadith which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when a woman dies while her husband was pleased with her, she will enter into paradise. I mean, subhanallah, she pleases her husband for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is her reward. So through pleasing her husband, this encourages love and romance in marriages, and same with husbands as well.
Definitely, I think how you understand love and respect, they say sometimes men understand love as respect, and vice versa. I think you need a dose of both, sister.
Yeah, definitely. And also, that's a hadith on talking about the woman's perspective, but also there's Ibn Abbas, one of the Sahaba, said beautiful, he was explaining his own life, and he said, indeed, I beautify or spruce up myself for my wife, and she adorns herself for me. And he said, and I love that I should redeem my rights from my wife, and I love that she should redeem her rights from me. And then he said, because Allah said, and then he quotes a verse in the Quran where Allah says, and the women have the rights over their husbands similar to those the rights that the husbands have over them. So highlighting the mutual thing, I'm going to, you know, dress myself up and make myself look nice for my woman, my wife, and the same for her. So that's the kind of the ideal Islamic relationship.
I think that's a really good tip generally for finding love in marriages. So look nice for one another as much as you can.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips?
I think as well we have to, it goes back towards using Allah and his laws as being the reference point as well. We find that particularly within the contemporary world that we live in, that a lot of emphasis has been placed on individualism. We shouldn't look at a marriage or a partnership as being individual. So one of the tips I would have would be being transparent. Don't hide anything from your spouse because it creates an element of distrust. Always be open with one another because that opens up the lines of communication. Don't have unrealistic expectations. Take the time to get to know your spouse so well that instead, with each step of getting to know them, you'll love them even more for their individuality. And if they do have some character traits that may be undesirable to you, you can perhaps talk about it with them in the hope that, because it won't maybe necessarily change, but in that it can kind of make the relationship easier to run smoothly in that sense. So don't have unrealistic expectations, and if they have any issues, try and exalt each other to bring out the best in one another.
Oh, mashallah, sisterhood, and last tip that you can give?
Look, I advise everybody here to read the story of Prophet ﷺ's daughter Zainab and her husband. And her husband was actually a non-Muslim at the time, and they were married and they were deeply in love. And then they, the rules came that men who are non-Muslim couldn't be with women who were Muslim. And it was a long, I mean, if we don't have time to go into it today, but I was weeping. Every time I read the story, it breaks my heart, and it shows me what a loving, it shows you what a kind of a father Muhammad ﷺ was, how he loved his daughter, how he catered for her needs and wants, how her husband loved her. It talks about the love of, for the sake of Allah, because she said, look, if you're not Muslim, then we can't be together. It talks about his love for Allah such that he wanted conviction in the belief, and not just to do it because his loving wife said you should become Muslim. It is the most, for me, my knowledge is very limited, but the most beautiful love story in Islam that I've come across. Read it.
I am going to definitely read that. Jazakallah, sisters, for all your tips. Well, the love between a man and a woman is celebrated in the sacred bond of marriage, one where both partners are given rights and responsibilities, and where the destination of journey culminates in Jannah, inshallah. Allah mentioned in the Quran that He put love, affection and mercy between husband and wife, and this is a true blessing. And among His signs is this, that He created for you wives from among yourselves, that you may find repose in them. And He has put between you love, affection and mercy. Verily in that are indeed signs for a people who reflect. And that's in Surah Al-Rum, verse 21. This has been such a crucial topic, especially when we find ourselves very busy in juggling everything in life. This aspect of life can sometimes be neglected. But if you've missed any of it, all is not lost. You can catch up the repeat show tomorrow morning at 6 AM, inshallah. And of course, you can always catch the highlights from this week on Sunday at 3 PM. We're off to another break now, but do stay tuned as we'll be back with our last segment where we will be discussing Allah's beautiful names. Stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.